Hello, welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. That is Jay. And Jay, we're here to talk fullbacks because, I mean, it's not really Malassia's fault, but this conversation comes off the back of Man United losing to Newcastle with Malassia, let's say, partly or substantially to blame for their second goal. But he isn't necessarily the problem. Him playing there is a symptom of the problem.
He's a symptom, not a cause of the problem.
He is. And I think what we need to look at is, do we have enough options at fullback? Not only do we have enough options, are our options good enough? There's constant questions about Dalot. Luke Shaw is coming to the end of his United career, I think, one way or another. He's played an unusually high number of games, which he would typically miss through injury this season. We've got Mazraoui, who's barely featured compared to normal. And then we've got Patrick Dorgu, who we're not even sure if he's a fullback or a winger. Maybe it's an area that United are going to have to strengthen in the summer. I want your thoughts, and obviously I want people's thoughts at home as well. But I think the best way to do it, I think we should look through our current options and then look at some of the potential targets we've been linked with and decide who we like. But first of all, do you think we need at least one more fullback at Man United?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, look, we're playing one game a week. I know it was 2 games in a week against Newcastle, so that's kind of contradictory. But we're playing 40 games this season. I think that's the fewest amount of games we've played in over 100 years. And we're in a position where players who really aren't good enough are having to play for Manchester United at fullback. Yeah. Like, that's where we're at. So can you imagine if you throw another 15 games a season in the mix, which is hopefully what we'll have next season if we have European football and we don't go out of both cup competitions at the first opportunity, then yes, most definitely you're going to need reinforcements. We're going to get into it about players in the academy where you might be able to promote them. But even with that conversation, you still need more players, and you need more quality players as well, because we were shuffling so much the other day, weren't we, where it was like, you know, okay, we've got Dalot coming on, and then right, Mazraoui can move over, and then actually now he's got injured, now it's going to have to be Malassia, and it just shows you the lack of depth there, and the fact that we do need to bring in some decent fullbacks.
Let's start with our sort of longest tenured fullback in Luke Shaw. He's been here basically a decade, or maybe it is a decade, I think.
2014, he was bought, was he not?
Was it 2014?
The summer of 2014, was it after Moyes? Pre-Van Gaal, like that summer where Van Gaal's first summer, I think it was.
So he's been here over a decade. He's playing, I think, he's played more league games this season than he did the previous 2 put together, or certainly more minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think it was that summer.
He's one of those players that is incredibly talented. On the ball, he's fantastic. If you just watched him sort of mess around, throw a few balls to him, pass the ball to him, you think he's the best player on the planet. But he is known for lapses in concentration occasionally. Some games where he can't physically raise his levels to match the intensity of the opposition. We saw it a little bit against Newcastle with a first half booking that ended up, you know, with him being taken off so he didn't get a second yellow. He's someone that is fantastic until he's not. And then all of a sudden, it's one of those games where Luke Shaw's getting rammed past, they're knocking the ball past him, he can't keep up with things. Plus, obviously, the injury issues. I think his contract runs out at the end of next season, so if nothing happens this year, he'll stay another year. But do you think he's someone that can be relied on with either a contract extension or even, you know, another 38 games or 55, 58, 60 games next season?
I think it's worth keeping him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth giving him an extension.
Okay.
I feel like we have the same conversation with Luke Shaw every single year. I remember me, Steve, and Dave Pritt, when we were on Devils, had this chat that me and you are having now, literally 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the jury being out for a player that then had been at the club about 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. And I remember, like, about a year later, people dug that clip out because he was playing really well. And we'd said, the jury's out, oh, you're not laughing now. And then about 6 months after that, we were retweeting it going, we told you so, because he'd had a bad spell or he'd been injured again. So he's never quite got going, has he, fully? There's been some really good spells. That spell under Van Gaal where he was flying until he got the injury. There was a spell under Erik ten Hag, I think, where he became essential. There was a spell under Ollie as well, where he did really well. But he's not been a consistent performer, has he? And like you say, when you're coming up against a top-level winger, he gets found out, and it's not even a top-level winger. And I say this with all due respect. Like, Alanga's okay. He's just quick. Yeah. He's not unbelievable. I wouldn't have him at United. But he had the better of him. And I think you can't rely on Luke Shaw for that. And I think it's probably counterproductive with the amount of players we're losing, and the fact we're not going to get any money for him, to let an experienced player who can still do a job for most games go ahead of his contract finishing. But I do think that once his contract ends, I think you have to say, right, that's it now, time to move on, because I can't keep having these chats every year. It's like an annual thing, is it? When's Luke Shaw going to kick on?
I know. Speaking of when's ex-player going to kick on every year, let's move on to Diogo Dalot. These are the players that are starting fullbacks most games, and yet I would say Dalot, now that the likes of Rashford and Garnacho have left, might be the most divisive player in the club in terms of the number of people that really like him and the people that sort of really don't like him.
Yeah.
He seems as though he's someone you can have an argument about with almost any United fan, one way or another. What do you make of him?
I think you're completely right. I mean, sometimes that argument goes on in our house. My miss absolutely loves him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like Dalot. I'm not quite as emphatic about him as she is. But for me, Dalot would be good. And I'm not trying to pat him on the head and damn him with faint praise. If he was a player that wasn't playing every week and every single game and every single minute almost.
Yeah.
Like that first season in the Ten Hag when it was him and Wan-Bissaka and they sort of swapped around, that worked. And you go back to the Carabao Cup final against Newcastle. He played the first half. He got booked. Alan San-Maximan causing us problems. Second half, Wan-Bissaka comes on. And that, we win the game. And I'm not saying you have to keep subbing Dalot because he can't do his job. He does play well a lot of the time for Manchester United. People forget that. You go back, we mentioned Luke Shaw, you go back to the Emirates. Luke Shaw was having all sorts of dramas against Bukayo Saka. It did us a favour when Bukayo Saka went over to Dalot's side because Dalot just pocketed him. And he's done it a few times, Dalot, where you actually don't notice him. And I mean that in a good way, where he's been able to sort of deal with the winger. And he can be quite effective going forward. I know he's not amazing, but he does have that in him. So it's a similar thing with Luke Shaw. How much are you going to get with him? I know there's rumours that Real Madrid are in for him at one point. I think Dalot's okay if he's not your only right back, or and he can play right or left. To be fair to the lad, I just think that this whole thing of he's playing every game, almost every minute, no matter what, when you haven't really got many other options, and we're going to get some of him, I don't like that. I think keep him as a squad player almost, who can play. He's probably going to end up playing, even if he's a squad player, he'll probably still end up playing 25, 30 games next season. And from what we gather, the reports and the rumours and all the rest of it is he is part of the sort of senior group of players who's I know that scares a lot of people, but he is one of the senior players at United, and I think there is a lot of respect there from his teammates. So he might not have the respect of other fans, but I think he gets it within the dressing room.
I think as well he's someone that if you give him a task and you say you're stopping Saka, for instance, today, your job is to watch the back post or watch your man at this side, don't let him put a cross in. I think if that's like in his head the last thing he heard before he went out, he'll go and do it. I think sometimes when he's allowed
like Forrest Gump with the table tennis ball, is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily, I won't go that far. But that kind of thing of like you said, when he's got a tricky winger, he almost does better because he knows this is my tricky winger. I'm going to be on you. I'm going to stay on you. It's when he's got that free roaming, we kind of need you to do everything here at all times. I think sometimes he gets caught in two minds, and I do think his sort of football IQ is not the best. I know people like to talk about him being a bozo, having the bozo gene.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about him off the pitch, but on the pitch, I do think he looks like he sort of gets a bit muddled at times. But I think, like you said, as the occasional, or not even occasional, as a regular, but not the first name on the team sheet, I think he'd be fine.
Yeah.
But you don't want him to be your best right back, personally. Let's move on to Nusayr Mazraoui then. He's sort of Mr. Consistency, isn't he? He's a 6.5, 7 out of 10 across the board. But is he lacking for you the 9 and 10 out of 10 elements to make him a real, reliable, top class, you play every minute right back?
No, for me, I think he is good enough to be our first choice right back.
Okay.
If he was our first choice right back and Dalot was our backup, I'd be fine with that. I love Mazraoui, mate. I think he's class. I do. And I get your point, right? You might not have seen many 9 or 10s, but you get a lot of 7s out of him.
Yeah.
A lot. And you saw it the other day when he came on against Crystal Palace. He just, his first, I think that's the most he played for a while for United, and he was fantastic. He was everywhere. And I think on the ball, you see his touch. Whenever I watch Mazraoui, he makes things look easy that aren't easy. Like there was one at St. James's where someone fired in a ball to him, and it was about 2 feet off the ground with pace, and his first touch just was perfect, and he just ran onto it. And I think that looks easy to him.
Yeah.
But it's not to me. Me or you, it'd be, well, you're all right football, but it'd be bouncing into the stands if I was trying to do it. And he can play on the right and the left, and I just think he's a slight upgrade on Dalot. I do. Okay. I think in an ideal world, you'd have Mazraoui as your first choice right back, rotating with Dalot that way around. I like Mazraoui, and I think that similar to Luke Shaw and Dalot, there's zero value in selling him. I think maybe if Dalot, big offer from Real Madrid, you can have that conversation. I don't know how true those rumours are, but with Mazraoui, no, I wouldn't sell him. Okay. Just keep it because you're not going to get anything ridiculous for him. So why bother?
just to round out the sort of first team 4 most picked kind of fullbacks, Patrick Dorgu, who's in a bit of an odd position where pre-season he looked fantastic. Early season, I think he was quite up and down and not at his best. Then he had a bit of time out. Then he comes back, not just with Michael Carrick, but as Michael Carrick arrives, he's stepping up with some fantastic performances against Arsenal in particular, obviously with the volley and the goal, playing almost as a winger. He was playing as a left wing back under Amorim, kind of can do a bit of everything. Played right wing back as well. I think when he was at his former club, he would play right wing at times, left wing at times, left back at times. Is he a left back, first of all? And if he is he good enough? Do you think he's got what it takes to be United's starting left back?
I think as a left back, he's okay.
Right.
As a winger, I think he's excellent. And I'd like to see him being given more opportunity as a winger. And I think he's a very sort of, almost like a modern winger in the sense that he can do a little bit of everything. He can track back. He can help out defensively. He's not a wing back. I think he can do that as a winger. I think he offers you something different as well from the likes of Mercedes Cunha, the likes of Brian Mbumo, even maybe the likes of Ahmad. So I think I'd like to see him at the business end of the pitch. I really would, because I think you're looking at someone there who can give you an 8 or a 9, as opposed to someone who's more of a 6 in terms of his rating, not his position, as left back or as a fullback. He's all right. He's not a disaster. Some people paint him as a complete disaster at fullback. I don't think he is. I just don't think he's that great. I do think he's very good. And also, I want to see more of him there. We've only seen him there a handful of games.
Yeah, I'd like to see more.
I think it's a small sample size, isn't it? And it's sort of skewed in our memory slightly because of that an unbelievable goal at the Emirates where it's like, just, you know what, Ballon Dorgu, forget it. He's mint. I don't want to hear any other conversations. I'd like to see him get a run in the attack next season, or the end of this season, to be honest.
I like him in the games where we're going to have less of the ball, because I think his running and his work and his physicality lends itself to getting up and down counter-attacks and getting in behind and all that. My worry with him would be, from what we saw at left wing-back, is that when you got teams sitting back, does he have the tight, technical, quick feet to play quick passes, 1-2s, dribble through those tight spaces? Like you said, we don't really know is the answer.
Yeah.
But that would be my big question about him.
Was it the derby where there was a bit of that going on?
Yeah, there was a bit of that. But when you think of someone like Ahmad or Kobe or Cunha, they've got those sort of quick technical feet, and Burmo as well. I'm not sure that Dorgu's got that, but we just need to see.
I get your point. Yeah, I think I would say, not to argue, but I get your point. I don't think he looks out of place when they're trying to do that. I think he can get away with it. Not to be down with praise, but I agree. I want to see more of him in that position. And when if he starts now in an attack, no one's going, what's he doing there? When he's fullback, you still get them like,
yeah.
So yeah, I agree completely.
We'll see. I want to sort of group a few players together here, not because they're not good, but just because we haven't really seen them there. Godwill Kokonki, Harry Amas, Aidan Heaven as well, who's obviously played predominantly at centre-back, as has Kokonki for the academy, but have both and both can play at left-back in particular. Yeah. Is it too much to ask for them to play there, or would you be taking Heaven away from his best position for no reason? You know, do you think they're more sort of options as an occasional thing rather than your next season starting fullback?
I think they could be an option, yeah. I think I've not seen a lot of them in those positions, but I know, obviously, from doing academy review with Finn mentioned it about Godwill Kokonki, how good he looks at left back, despite the fact he's a 6'4" centre back. You know, 6'4" defenders usually are centre backs. It's very rare you get a really tall fullback, but he can play very well at left back, and I think he's played a lot of games for the academy there. Aidan Heaven, I think he's only played about one game at United as a left back, but he has done, I think, previously at Arsenal. Yeah. So they both can play there. Heaven's obviously got more experience in the first team, far more experience, obviously. But that experience has been at centre back. It's an option. I think similarly to with the thing with Dorgu, where we want to see more of him. It'd be interesting if we were able to see Aidan Heaven fill in at left back once before the end of the season, and then or maybe even in pre-season, you give them both a go, and then you can make a decision as an option, because we don't know what the season's going to look like in terms of centre backs. We don't know how far Godwill Kokonki is from the first team. Is he? You know, we don't even know who the manager's going to be next season, whether he's going to fancy him. So there's lots of questions there, but from everything I've heard and, you know, from speaking to people who have seen them, they both can operate there. They both can do a good job. It's just we don't know how that's going to look in the first team.
Similar with Amas. Obviously, we have seen him at left back, but, you know, there was some questions about his size a little bit. I think he's like 5'7", which
It's like the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
You've got
exactly.
someone who you think is not too tall. It's just, it just seems a little bit
especially
out
with
of
the
place.
emphasis on crossing and sort of box kind of presence these days. Does that worry you a touch?
A little bit. It's just a shame that Amas got that injury when he did. He was obviously doing well at Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, I loved him.
He might have a chance at United. I do worry about him though, and it's just a shame that football is going that way where physicality seems to be so important to everyone now.
Yeah.
It's not just about how good you are technically, because technically he's very good.
Yeah,
was it in like where was he at before he came to United? Was it Watford?
I can't remember.
Wasn't he on like the bench for him when he was about 12?
Yeah.
Or something ridiculous. Not that young, but he was very young when he was sort of in around the first team. So I would like to see Amas get a chance. We spoke to him on tour.
Yeah.
Just chatting to him, comes across really well. He obviously did an interview with Steve, but we spoke to him a lot off camera. Got a very sort of mature head on his shoulders. I just worry that the way the football is at the minute and his size and physicality is going to go against him, because I'd be happy if I saw him given a chance at least. I just don't know if he'll get it.
Let's have a look at some potential people that could come in. And one thing
Before we do that,
can
I
I
just ask you one thing?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Ahmad as a fullback if needs must?
In a needs must situation, I could see it, but I think my sort of conclusion to that full list of people is we need better fullbacks. Personally, I think Mazraoui is good, and like you said, might be better than Dalot overall. But wouldn't it be nice to have an outstanding fullback?
Okay.
Do you know, we look at the likes of Evra, certainly those first few seasons of Evra, I think he was exceptional, world class. I mean, everyone speaks about Dennis Irwin, who I didn't see a lot of because obviously
Dennis Irwin, when you say about
United.
the 7 and 8, Dennis Irwin was 8 out of 10, but practically his entire United career.
Yeah.
Like, just unbelievable. For me, the best left back the Premier League's ever seen. Like, better than Ashley Cole, better than Patrice Evra, better than anyone else you want to throw into the mix if there is, even as anyone else. Was right-footed as well, which is the amazing thing. He's actually a right back that moved over to the left and could cross it with his left foot like it was his natural foot.
Yeah.
Was just fantastic. He really was. It's only now he's kind of getting some flowers, Dennis Irwin.
Yeah.
He's done the overlap, and a few older Reds are like, yeah, actually, you need to look at what he achieved and how he achieved it. So, yeah, I understand your point about
and
it feels like you got a lot of almost theirs.
Yeah, and I think the squad, unfortunately, has got a lot of that in it. Where, look at someone like Lissandro Martinez, who I think is genuinely one of the best, if not the best, ball-playing centre-backs in the world, certainly the Premier League. Like, when he plays to when he doesn't play, it's not like Yoro or Maguire or whoever comes in instead of him is terrible and the game is awful. It's just that we don't get to do all of the good things we do when he's playing, and you notice it. And I think the same could be true for the fullback positions, where if we swap one of our players that aren't terrible, they're good players, out for someone that's truly exceptional, I think United will defend better, but also add another level of threat, add another level of control to the team, which we don't currently have. Let's look at a few names. I mean, these are some names that have been linked. What we know about Ineos is they're probably looking at people we're not too aware of, which is something that's very good as well that we've seen. I mean, Anthony Robinson was one that was sort of mentioned more last season. He's not been so good this season, but he was getting tons of assists last year. I don't think he's got any this year. I think he's a little bit older as well. Was he 28 years old, Anthony Robinson? We'll get that checked. He's one name that potentially could be there on the left-hand side. DiMarco, another one for Inter Milan. KO'd at Brentford, another one. Daniel Munoz, another one. I mean, there's loads of names. Obviously, there's also Lewis Hall is someone that get mentioned as well for Newcastle. We played against recently. I don't know if that gets mentioned because we just played him and people want to put the two names together. Any other names, obviously, that you're interested in as well. But what type of player do you think we need? And is there anyone in particular that you think that guy would help Man United out?
It sounds like the most stupid thing that anyone's ever said, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Go on.
I think we need a fullback who's just primarily good at defending.
Okay.
I feel like all our fullback options, especially at left back, are like very good going forward or decent going forward, but we're a bit concerned about them defensively, which is insane to me, that, because that's kind of what you're in the team to do. That's your job, as Roy Keane would say. And I feel like, while people get excited about assists from fullbacks, about fullbacks who can push forward, everyone was absolutely raving, weren't they, about Miller Kirkes, when he was at Bournemouth and then he went to Liverpool. And, he's been all right.
Been bang average.
Yeah, he's not been that great.
No.
But it's like, he's great going forward. He's mint going forward. And then you see him defensively and he's all over the gap. Now, I'm not saying he was last season, but it seems like people just ignore that element of, and it's like, how good is he going forward? How many assists can he get? How can he link up with the attackers? How can he link up with the strikers or whatever? And I think that's important, but primarily you want someone who, if you are up against a tricky winger or a rapid winger or someone who's putting up silly numbers, you feel confident your fullback can handle it. The reason Dennis Servant was so good, or Gary Neville was so good, or Patrice Evra was so good, yes, they could go forward, and we all know that, but defensively they were solid. You could put them against anyone in the world, and you could feel comfortable they'd handle it. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't have to go, well, we're going to have to move you over to the other side or bring in someone else, or double up on this winger because you can't cope. They'd be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, some wingers are causing problems, but it wasn't an issue, and that's what we need to get back to. I just want to see someone who's defensively solid. Those ones you mentioned, they're all okay. None of them excite me.
Yeah.
There's not one that I go, he's the guy. The best one you mentioned is Lewis Hall. I think me and you've got more chance of playing for United next season than Lewis Hall has. I don't think we'll get him at all. I don't think we'll try and get him, and I don't think they'll sell him to us.
No. I mean, I like Lewis Hall. I think he's a really good player. I think as well, the right back position is a weird one because it's probably the most kind of well covered. Like, I think either Mazraoui or Dalot could play 45 games next season, or both of them could. Left back, Luke Shaw can't do that. He just can't. There's no evidence across the last decade that he will be able to play 45 games next season. It's just not going to happen. That's assuming he's fit for every game, let alone if he starts getting injured. I think he'd have to be rested if he was fit, and if he's injured, then obviously that takes care of itself. I think Dorgu needs to find a position. I know we've spoke about the left wing.
Okay.
He needs to work out what he is, or maybe he does become a bit of a utility player. But if he is, he's not going to start 50 games. Utility players come in for certain games. Arsenal, Man City, let's play you against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Let's put you in almost like a sort of Park Ji-sung type player, where it's like you're still playing 30 games, but it's not every single week Dorgu is playing as our left back because he can do everything like Dennis Irwin or Patrice Evra. He's someone that comes in as a left wing back, as a left winger or a left back, depending on the assignment. I don't mind him playing like that, but we do need someone where it's here's the guy that plays, all the time. And Robinson is a weird one because last season didn't he get like 13 assists or 10 assists or something in the Premier League? It was fantastic, and this season he's been really poor.
See, that's the kind of thing you got to be wary of.
I know,
because we could have gone out in the summer and gone, he's our guy.
Yeah.
Now it might be different if you come to United, but I doubt it.
He's had a lot of injuries in fairness to him, but again, that doesn't help us, does it?
And he could have bought him because he's so good going forward and so good. And you could be sort of looking at him now going, we've got a 28-year-old defender we shouldn't have bought, really.
Yeah.
So you've got to be mindful of that, haven't you, really?
To carry on the Liverpool thing as well, Frimpong has been, again, absolutely bang average for him.
I honestly think he's genuinely been one of the most spoken about players in the world over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He's always linked with moves to United. He's always been linked with a move away from Leverkusen. Like, everyone was rapping about him. Obviously, a big part of that successful Leverkusen team that won the Bundesliga and won, was it every game until the Europa League final or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely smashed it. And then at Liverpool, he's had injuries, I know. I think he scored in the Community Shield or the Charity Shield or whatever, but he's not done that much, has he really? No. He's been a bit of a bad signing for him.
Yeah. It's a really tricky one, and fullbacks are the sort of position where this is going to sound horrible, but a nice way of phrasing it is there are a lot more fullbacks that are good enough to play for Man United than there are strikers or central midfielders that play for Man United. I think it is a position where there's probably 30 to 40 fullbacks across the world that we could bring in this summer that could do a job for us. Obviously, there's probably only a dozen or so that are that real top end. Some of them are too established for you to get them. Some of them don't want to move, etc. But I do think there are options here, and I think it's something we should definitely look at, because you can either go down the used to be a winger and is now a fullback in the case of Frimpong route, or you can go down the sort of really physical, heavy kind of defensive player, as you mentioned as well. But ideally, I think there are enough out there that can do both. There should be. You got to have a good engine, you got to be physical. But I think we should be able to get a player. When's the last time we had a fullback where you went, he's unbelievable, When is that? I mean, Valencia had a season where he was excellent, but for most of his time at United, or certainly a chunk of it, wasn't even a fullback.
No.
When's the last time we had a really great fullback at United? Is it Neville?
I'd say Evra post Neville.
Okay, Evra post Neville.
Only, not to split hairs,
but
that's
Neville. They sort of dovetailed, didn't they, a little bit? So since Evra was at his peak, which is sort of 2010, 11,
Yeah,
say.
maybe,
Was at his
maybe
best.
a year before, or but around
Yeah.
that time, yeah. I get your
It's
point.
been 15 years since we had a real, like, he is a top level
A
fullback.
lot of teams struggle with that, though, you know.
It's not easy.
Like, because this is a whole new thing now, and it's like 4 centre-backs as your back 4.
Yeah.
That became a big thing, didn't it?
Well, Arsenal still do it.
Yeah,
City do it.
Arsenal still do it. And then, like, some of these teams, like, City have won the title with, like, Zinchenko at left-back, with Fabian Delph at left-back.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? It's not like they've had loads of outstanding left-backs during the time when they've been winning titles. Arsenal, who are vying for the title, and are probably they are odds-on favourites. Who's their left-back?
Well, it's either Timber, it's Calafiori. Sometimes they were playing Tomiyasu last season. I know he's left now, but and then it's Ben White on the other side. Again, Timber sometimes. They basically play centre backs.
Yeah,
they play all centre backs. So that's what I mean. I think there are a lot of players who can do it, and it is hard to come across the top level. You know, City had Kyle Walker on one side for a decade, and he did.
He was different. Well, I get your point there,
good.
but he was better. Like, they didn't have that. Certainly, I can't remember. Not that I pay loads of attention to what's going on at City, but that kind of player on the left.
No.
It seems to be a little bit more like a merry-go-round. And yeah, maybe that is the way football is going. And that might push us back towards, if we were to go down that route or look at it, that might end us looking at someone like Aiden Heaven or Godwill Conky and going, well, actually, we're in an era almost where a lot of fullbacks are actually centre-backs or big, like those, because set pieces have become so big now as well, haven't they? Pardon the pun, that it's like you want as many tall players on the pitch as you can get. Yeah. Because we're all going to pile into the box to defend or attack a corner. So maybe look at someone like a Conky and go, we could do with him being in this team. Yeah. Like, if he ain't going to be one of the centre-backs, and he can play left-back and do a job, and he's 6'4", whatever he is, 6'5", why not? Let's, you know what I mean? If he can do that job, maybe we need to move with the times and get someone like him in. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens. In an ideal world, we'd have your Champions League qualification done. This is dream world. Before the end of the season, you can maybe give one of these players a chance there towards the end of the season, like Fergie used to do. Or if not, pre-season, let's see what they're about and see if they can fill those voids.
Yeah, 100%. Right, get your thoughts in the comments below on the fullback situation. Do Manchester United need 1, 2, 3 fullbacks, left backs, right backs? I think it was very clear we did when Amarim was here, wasn't it? We needed wing backs that we didn't really have. We were playing Ahmad there, we were playing Dorgu. Now things have changed a little bit. We do have 4 fullbacks. You've got Dorgu, you've got Shaw, you've got Mazraoui, you've got Dalot. But it still feels like there is a gap there. There is a position that needs filling there. So who do you like in the comments as well? Who do you think will sign? Who do you think we should sign? That's been Jay. I've been Joe. This has been a chat about fullbacks at Manchester United. We'll see you in a bit.